Now that we've covered desktop operating systems in the previous lesson, I'm sure you're wondering what options you have for mobile operating systems. Go Incognito and all of our other projects that we do are made available completely free to you. One of the ways we're able to do this for a living and offer it for free is through people who are supporting our work. So thank you to all of our patrons over on Patreon, and thank you to our privacy supporters on YouTube. If you want to help enable us spread privacy to the masses, make sure to check out our Patreon and join, as well as becoming a privacy supporter on YouTube. Not only are you helping our cause, but you can gain access to behind the scenes, like how this lesson was created, badges in the YouTube comments, one-on-one consultations, and other cool perks. We really do appreciate anything you can do to help us out, and thank you for your support. Everything you do on your mobile devices runs on top of the operating system, like iOS or Android. You are not going to be accomplishing much in this course if you're on an inherently insecure and unprivate operating system. Let's start with the most popular open source operating system, Android. Android is difficult to analyze because vendors have the ability to modify the OS or ROM to their liking. This causes a lot of variance between different devices. OnePlus, the Chinese budget phone manufacturer, uses their own version of Android called OxygenOS, which in October of 2017 was found to be collecting data about users' activities, tying the data to their serial number, which can then be tied to the individual who purchased the device. On the other hand, GrapheneOS is built from the ground up to be an extremely secure and private version of Android. These two ROMs took Android's openness in two entirely different directions, so how do we analyze this? Well, I split Android into three separate types, making it easy for you to understand the key differences. Type 1 is the most common form of Android. It's modified and skinned from a manufacturer like HTC, Samsung, Motorola, or OnePlus, just to name a few. There will be exceptions, but in general, the security is alright. Additionally, it takes these third-party manufacturers time to receive security patches from Google, who develops Android. This means you're getting delayed security patches on your device. To top that all off, lots of manufacturers and cell providers like Verizon install their own apps that aren't removable and increase the risk of exploits and/or privacy invasion. Speaking of privacy, most manufacturers implement some form of additional tracking on these devices, as seen by OnePlus, Motorola, HTC, and Samsung. Keep in mind that Android is tightly integrated with Google on Type 1, so you're being tracked by Google, the manufacturer of your device, and possibly the cell provider you purchased the phone from. Type 2 Android is more commonly known as stock Android, which is what Google pushes out on their devices. For security, this is definitely an improvement from Type 1. Google pushes out consistent security patches that don't need to be cleared by third parties, and Google is well known for having extremely great security. Type 2 also limits the amount of pre-installed software, and cell providers won't install anything assuming you buy the phone unlocked. This is overall much better than Type 1, but it's not perfect. Type 2 is still tightly integrated with Google, making it very poor for your privacy, but at least only one company has your data. Type 3 Android devices are custom ROMs. Custom ROMs can be installed on most Google and OnePlus devices very easily. For other devices, check out XDA and cross your fingers for good luck. The beauty of custom ROMs is they give you the ability to install a variant of Android that favors your security and privacy. The standout project at the moment is LineageOS, which is FOSS and built to protect your data. It adds some privacy features, it doesn't dump location data, and it has many other security and privacy precautions not found in some ROMs. Additionally, it comes with no Google Play services, meaning no third-party tracking. But how do we even get apps? Well, there's the F-Droid store, a store that only hosts FOSS applications. If you need an app not found on F-Droid, you can manually install an app yourself, or use the FOSS Aurora store from F-Droid, which will spoof pretty much the Google Play Store. If you still need the Play Store or want some Google services, you can install GApps or MicroG on your ROM that correspond with the Google features you need, so you have full control over the entire process. LineageOS, however, like other ROMs, arguably lowers security by not maintaining things like verified boot, as well as other concerns. It's a huge drop-off in the security model of Android. As of today, the only two ROMs I'm aware of that don't suffer this problem are GrapheneOS and CalyxOS. GrapheneOS is considered the absolute most secure and private ROM out there. I covered this entire project on the YouTube channel. It is actually stronger than stock Android. CalyxOS maintains the security of stock Android, AOSP, and it pre-installs things like microG to make a ROM designed for the masses. This will be on our channel as well. They're both fantastic projects that are aimed at different people, but for the overwhelming majority, we're going to recommend CalyxOS as it's going to make most things work. Even though projects like LineageOS have security problems, that may be okay for you. If getting away from Google means a small hit to your security, that may also just work. Overall, Type 3 Android, though, is king over Type 1 and 2, and between all the options, we highly recommend GrapheneOS and CalyxOS. Let's move to iOS. Apple's security is very strong. They have very heavy app requirements from the App Store and just a very general lockdown nature of the OS. iOS will almost always beat out Type 1 Android in security and privacy. Now, comparing iOS to Type 2 Android is tough because they are similar in many ways. They're both managed by the company who creates the software and hardware, there's little bloatware, security is overall good, and both are companies who perform at least some form of data collection, although Apple is almost always typically considered better than Google. Between those two, you need to make the call over what company you trust more with your information and what device works best for your needs. Lastly, there's iOS versus Type 3 Android. Type 3 Android is almost always considered better than iOS when it comes to privacy. As for security, projects like GrapheneOS are arguably better than iOS as well. The coolest thing is these ROMs are generally FOSS, offering another awesome benefit over iOS, increasing user trust and transparency. As a side note, just avoid rooting and jailbreaking your devices since it'll open up your device to malicious activities. There are scenarios where rooting and jailbreaking can be beneficial for you, but most of you should avoid it unless you know exactly what you're doing. The last device to mention, which is still in development at the time of making this lesson, are the Linux phones. Librem 5 and the PinePhone are the most notable projects, and they, like they sound, rely on Linux. As great as this is for your privacy, FOSS, and simply having a third option, Linux phones are currently a huge drop-off in user security, but they still have yet to be fully released, so let's wait for that to happen first. To summarize, if you're a user who draws your convenience line pretty early on, I'd recommend iOS or stock Android, but if you're willing to go above and beyond and get a truly private and secure device, you're going to want to check out Type 3 Android, preferably without Google Play services and ideally with strong security using something like, as of today, GrapheneOS or CalyxOS. That's going to finish the main options for a private and secure experience on your mobile devices. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you in the next lesson where I'll teach you about expendable operating systems, like virtual machines and live operating systems. See you then, and thanks for watching.